I realized that 90% of my clients have ADHD and they're trying to run a business.
I've got folks on my team who have ADHD. This is something that has been long not spoken about.
There's this disruption that causes change. When I found out I could make these disruptions strategic, that's when things started growing.
In business, we all have different strengths and weaknesses, and that's what makes it all beautiful. You can't run it by yourself. You need a team.
The best leaders find the best in their people and coach them through that.
The thing with the ADHD assessment is they say you leave that room with a title and you think, well, that's what's broken. I wasn't okay with that.
No one really talks about how to be successful in business while you're learning to just be who you are.
When we talk about creating messages for people, we meet them where they're at, but it's not often talked about, I think, in the workplaces.
Mostly what I was doing is giving them permission to work their way.
What Jake just shared, it's world changing.
Hey, you're not broke. This is how you were designed to work.
Welcome back to another episode of Good Business. Guys, I've got a new friend that we've been friends on LinkedIn for a while, but first time hanging out. I've got Jake here, who is the author of Leader Shit, and I did just say that. And then on Good Business, I did just. I think that was the first
allowed.
technical curse word on this entire.
Leader's hit.
It was technical.
Leaders hit.
A leader's hit, for sure. And also just a profound thinker and visionary, and brings a lot of insight, especially when it comes to folks who are struggling with ADHD in business. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. This is honestly something that has been long not spoken about. I've got folks on my team who have ADHD. I've got kids who have ADHD, and no one really talks about how to be successful in business while you're not learning to manage, but learning to just be who you are. And so I am so pumped to have you here. Thank you so much for making the trek down from Dallas today.
It's awesome, man. Hey, it's a privilege. Thanks.
Awesome. I also am joined by my co-hosts, Luke Frazier, our Chief Growth Officer at Good Agency. Thanks for hanging out.
Hey, man.
I am interested to hear how this conversation goes.
Very interested.
It could go anywhere. I mean, we're talking about ADHD, so
You guys have an outline, but we're not using it.
but of course. Seriously, outlines are not there if you. Anyway, all right. Are we going to be talking about elephants, unicorns, doodling, something in between? Maybe, I don't know. Well, Jay, would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, about who you are, about how you even started diving into this topic?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jake Brown, and I came up through school, had a lot of trouble reading, learning. I just didn't fit in school well. Got decent grades, so they just kind of sat me in the back and let me draw. And kind of that's how I got through. I got through college, ended up going into marketing, went to school for aerospace engineering, and then ended up working at a marketing agency because it sounded fun. And then was running these marketing agencies and just never really fit. But what I found is I was the disruptor that there's this disruption that causes change that leads to growth. And it was kind of this idea of I was always disrupting things, but it was when I found out I could make these disruptions strategic, that's when things started growing and being weird. And I didn't know why I never fit. So I was masking and trying to do all this kind of stuff. And since I've realized that most people have ADHD, you show up to work and the first 20% of your effort, of your cortisol levels, is just not getting caught. So then you have maybe 80% left to be equal to or outshine others. And that's how I was living. That's what I was trying to figure out. And it just wasn't working because I would come home and I was empty. And finally my wife was like, maybe we should talk about this. And we we moved overseas, moved back, went to this therapist, and was just talking hey, this is stuff that's going on. And he said, you have ADHD. Let's get you assessed. And I was like, no, I don't. And I got assessed, and yep, that's what it was. And I was like, well, what does that mean? Because the thing with the ADHD assessment is they say you leave that room with a title, and you think, well, that's what's broken. And that's where I wasn't okay with that. And I was like, I'm not broken, they're broken. I'm just egotistical enough to think, no, they're all broken, So that's where my kind of passion for understanding me. And then I thought, well, what happens if my kids, we have 4 children that we homeschool, and it's well, what if they have these issues? I don't want them to have to go through what I went through, especially my daughters. And it's how do I protect? How do I build this bridge and move forward? And then all this time I'm working at marketing agencies and then consulting with marketing agencies and helping people grow in new ways or to see their blind spots and grow. And then one day I just started asking people, and I realized that 90% of my clients have ADHD, and they're trying to run a business with their ADHD. And mostly what I was doing is giving them permission to work their way, like find their house rules. So that's where, it's been years of just figuring this out, and it unfolds, and then watching more and more, like when you're a creative director and when you lead creatives and they do amazing creative work and you just celebrate what they did and you're so proud of them. Well, it's like the same thing where I'm like going, hey, you're not broke. Like this is how you were designed to work. And then watching them do that and watching their businesses like change that way. And I'm like, I get that kind of front row seat. Actually, not even front row seat. It's like, if you ever, like, my daughters are in ballet, and the lady who runs the studio is off stage behind the curtain. So she never sees the whole production, but she's like right there on the side. And I feel like that's where I am, the customers. Everybody else is seeing it, and my clients are out here, and I'm kind of that on the side of the stage, like cheering them on, like getting to see it from that perspective. So,
wow.
Chase some winding stories there.
No, I expected nothing less. No, that's amazing. So what have you seen as like the biggest catalyst for change in the folks that you get to coach and be supportive of, who also face with ADHD?
Yeah. Really there's this point that everything changes for them. And for me, I'll tell you the story where it made sense to me. Is they brought the Monet exhibits to Dallas, like a bunch of his paintings, the water lilies. And I have to tell you, I have not been a big fan of those paintings. But we went to see them, took the kids, we went through the exhibit, and it's like, didn't really understand Impressionism. They're massive, huge paintings, bright colors, shapes everywhere, chaos. They're a mess. Like, I was like, these things are a mess. And they're huge. And I remember just being overwhelmed and overstimulated by them. And then I remember stepping back and looking at, like, I was looking at them, and my little daughter, like my youngest, she like came up, talked to me something, and I was talking to her, and she said, look at all the beautiful flowers together. Like, she said that, and she saw this different perspective. And I looked up, and when I saw the room of the beautiful flowers from a distance or whatever, I realized this is beautiful. It was designed to be beautiful. It was intentional. And then I realized I never would have realized this. We wouldn't care about the water lilies, except Monet made them the way he wanted to. And that's when I realized, like, for me, I was like, I'm one of these water lilies. If somebody gets close, I'm messy. I'm overwhelming. I'm loud. I'm a lot. I get that. But when I was designed this way,
That's right.
I'm not broken. I was designed. And when I saw that moment for myself, and I said, okay, this is who I am. I can work with that. And then later we can talk a little bit, but the idea of it's not design flaws, it's design features. And once I realized those features were there, that made a difference for me. So when I work with my clients, we figure out what are some of these design features. And when I let them realize, like, I just tell them, I'm like, you were made this way. Like, this was intentional. And whether or not you believe it, I believe you're valuable because I think God designed you this way in your value book that he said so. And when I can say that to my clients, whether or not whatever their beliefs are, it doesn't matter. The fact that I believe in them and the fact that they see somebody does, and then they start to make those changes in their business where it's like, okay, this is hard for you. Why are we even doing that? Like, do your clients even care if you deliver that? No. Maybe we stop. Like, just kind of start building. How do you build your team? Let's build it so that it works for you instead of trying to say, this is what people said a business looks like. Let's try to shove you in there and it doesn't really fit. What if we say, this is how you were designed? How can we hitch a business onto those strengths? And then there are some, things that we're not so strong at. There are weaknesses. There are things that our executive function just isn't going to let me do. For instance, booking travel. It's this like blind spot. I mean, I just get to the point where you think, logically I understand, go on a website, book it, be done. Like, should be super simple. And it's like panic attack. Like, I start stressing out. Am I going to overspend? Am I going to go right one? Did I misread that and book to the wrong airport? Like, all this panic rises and everything. And I just realized it's like either my wife or my 14-year-old does it and it takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to be stressed and angry and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of one of the things where you go, well, I just looked at that and I said, either I don't travel or I don't book the travel. And it was like, can I pay my 14-year-old, give him like part of a job to help me out? And he loves doing it. And I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Everybody wins. So
Wow.
It feels to me like a process in many ways for you and then for other business owners that wrestle with this of awareness and acceptance. But you're noting there's a choice in the process of acceptance that has to do with a different perspective, right? Perspective change on these they're just product features of me. Like I can use them as, I've heard other people talk about like superpowers. And
real quick, I personally don't like this superpower disability. I think it's too much of a dichotomy, and I'm like, it's just, it is.
Yeah.
Because if you say it's the superpowers, then
Yeah.
we're celebrating the strengths and we're overlooking the fact that we do have things that
Sure.
frustrate us.
Okay. Yeah.
And to shift a little bit, it's like, we'll go with operating systems, right? So everybody has their preference, Mac or PC. They're really not that different anymore. It's just your user interface, how you do it. But if you buy certain software, there's certain software that only works on one platform.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how it is. It's like I run on a different operating system than
Yeah.
some people. And there's some software, there's some apps that won't work for me. Okay, well, are there other apps? Can I adjust that way? But then we each have different product features
Wow.
that stand out more or less. So when people think about it as it being a superpower, well, yeah, we're really, really great at this stuff, but we can't book travel. We can't remember people's names. We can't use the automatic feature on the windshield wipers because it's always the wrong tempo. Like there are just things like that that we can't remember to eat. Like we get focused on something, we forget to eat, then we get cranky. Like there's just all these things that it's like
they're not
if
those
you wanna
ones
say-
aren't superpowers.
Right, it's
Yeah.
like, is it a superpower? Because I also act a lot like a toddler.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. So I don't like that language because it has this expectation.
I
and
like
also,
it. Yeah.
It's like the superpower means we can do this all the time.
Yeah.
Well, hey, even
Yeah.
Superman had kryptonite, so
Yeah. And it's like, we have tides, we go up and down, and it's like,
Yeah.
it looks like a superpower to other people when we're at what I call high tide.
yeah.
And when we're at low tide, we're toddlers.
Yeah.
It's like,
I like
okay,
that
so that high
perspective,
tide and
yeah.
low tide, it's like, this is just our operating system. It
That's
goes
so-
up and down.
I really
That's such a
appreciate that.
valuable perspective. Well, and it's so critical to know that in business we all have different strengths and weaknesses,
Right.
and that's what makes it all beautiful. Is
Yeah.
like you can't run it by yourself. You need a team. You need people with their own strengths and weaknesses to come in and support your own as well. Excuse me. Would you say that there's been a specific like master strength that you have learned how to handle, wrangle, just like this is where my zone of genius is? And if so, how did you discover that? Because I think everybody is different and comes at it from a different perspective.
I would definitely say my strengths, I have never noticed on my own.
Okay.
Other people have pointed them out, or they said, I've appreciated this about you, or they say something, and because I don't realize that other people don't put effort.
Right.
Like, it's fun, it's play, it's almost easy, it's energizing for me, but it's work for other people.
Yeah.
For instance, making decisions, processing like masses of information and then processing and finding the right one. Like working genius, that there's the invention, like coming up with the ideas, and then the discernment. Like those two are kind of one for me. Like I just look at it like for discernment, like people will put out information there and it's like you look at it and it's multiple choice and you're like, that's the answer.
Yeah.
You can give me more information, we can talk about it or whatever, but it's just like decision fatigue isn't typically a thing for me.
Yeah.
Same thing with ideation, like coming up with like that invention, that coming up with ideas.
Yeah. I saw you coming on my LinkedIn the other day. We're both IDs. Yeah.
It's one of those things that like other people, it can be overwhelming, but with those two paired together, I have this, people say it's the superpower. Amy Smith, so she's the one that pointed this out to me because I was like, there's something that I do and I can't place it. And she said, you walk into chaos, simplify it, and make it actionable.
That's really good.
And I was like, doesn't everybody do that? And she just started laughing like, no. Like
Very few have that
but
talent.
It's like, an example would be like walking into my kid's room, like say my boys, Legos, Connect, everything's everywhere. I walk in, I don't see a mess. I see 4 categories of things that are blended. So it's like I walk in and I'm like, okay, well, let's pull these out, pull these out, pull this out. And the room's clean in 15 minutes. Because the same thing with business issues or with ADHD, like when I'm talking to people, everything's this mess that's blended. And I'm not wired to see the mess. I just see the things mixed. So it's kind of like, well, how do you simplify that? Well, it's not one mess, it's 4 things at once. Let's pull out the things we don't need. That's all that's left. So
Wow. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love
Absolutely. Well, and I think that allows you to go into businesses and coach them well because you can see the mess so easily. And you can see how to separate the mess and get it organized.
And another example is in conversations. Like, this is the way I've thought about it is if somebody comes to me and like we're just working through an issue on their staff or something like that, what happens is we start having a conversation and we're basically juggling. They have all the context and we're juggling. And I just stop catching things to the point where we have 1 thing or 2 things that we're focused on. And then it usually takes 30 minutes. It's like stuff's flying everywhere. And all of a sudden it's like, we're just talking about this one thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, people are like, how do you do that? And I'm like, honestly, that was just overwhelming and I didn't need it. So it's like, I just learned to use my ADHD to be like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just let it fly by. We don't need that. And then we have that one rich conversation about the thing that mattered. And a lot of times it's because they're so ingrained, they're so involved in all of the context and everything that surrounds them that they get paralyzed because there's too much weight. And when you really look at it, you kind of go, or is this the only thing that matters?
Yeah.
Or if you stop doing this, does all that other stuff go away? Well, yeah, probably. Cool. Tried that?
Yeah, I love that. It makes me curious with the business owners you've worked with. Have you found that many of them, one of the factors might be that they're worried about what people think, or they're worried about like that imposter syndrome rises up of they know they're good at one thing, but then what would happen if so that's like, is that a lot of the stuff that they're carrying and walking through?
2 points on that real quick. There's something called RSD. It's rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And it's this idea that there's the idea where if I do something and people don't like it, they're going to reject me. Well, we all have that element, but there's the point where you start changing who you are because you expect rejection.
Right. Yeah.
That's very common. Most people with ADHD have some form of RSD.
Okay.
And that's huge, especially in the workplace. If you're the business owner, a lot of times you'll play a game and pretend, and it won't actually, like, there will be, a difference between what reality and what isn't. And you play a game for the staff, maybe trying to be more confident. And this is one thing I find is a lot of leaders that have ADHD, they play that game because they want to be dependable and they don't want to see the volatility. They don't want people to see that they have weaknesses, that they have what I call low tides. They don't want that to be presented because they feel like they have to protect and keep people safe. Well, yes, but lying and hiding isn't the best way to keep people safe. So we work through that. And then for employees, the same thing is if you show up and you only want people to know you for your high tides and even your mid tides, like if you only want them to see that, then they have those higher expectations that you deliver at that level all the time. And then you have this constant stress that you're going to get caught, you're going to get found out. Because for me, there was time before I knew, and then right after I knew, I didn't want anybody. Like when I got my diagnosis, I didn't want anybody to know. I was like, I have to go to work, get enough work done, not get caught because I have to keep this job because I'm feeding my kids. So then there was like this guilt and all that. And then that goes back to the RSD where I'm failing people. And then if things aren't working, and it just kept piling on top of it. And then it just got to this point where, back to the idea where it's like, wait, I was designed this way on purpose. Somebody loves me. I have value because this is who I am. And then it's like, okay, I can stop that spiral. It's hard, but there are times where I have to get shaken out of it or I can step out of it. So as the business owner, as a leader, that definitely shows up. As the employee, it definitely shows up. And we try to play into that. What do people expect? Because if we feel we're broken, then we have to overcompensate and we have to go beyond the expectations. We have to be the star employee or just below the star employee so we don't stand out. But we can't be mediocre and we can't be less, because what happens if I have a bad week? Like I have to kind of set that padding in.
Wow. It's a journey.
Yeah. Honestly, that's hitting home, and I'm just like processing through it right now. I talk a lot about how important it is for a business owner to have humility, and my definition that I've historically used has just been having the right view of oneself, and making sure that you're not trying to present anything other than that, because that's going to be how you can have authentic relationships and everything in between. How would you define humility?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like on the spot. It's
that's okay.
I actually heard somebody say it's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less.
Yeah.
And that one I love because it's hard. If you're thinking of others, then it's really, really hard to, like, it's hard to have that ego. It's hard to build that up when you're serving others. It's, I don't know, that's probably the best one I've heard, and that one makes the most sense, especially looking at my kids and stuff like that. There's like a lot of times where it's like, like, are you willing to play with your kids? Are you allowed to, like, will you go down? We say down to their level. Will you take a knee? Will you go down and talk eye to eye with a kid, with employees, are you willing to meet them because of them?
Yeah.
And it's not like the idea of like you're going down to them. It's more like, are you willing to meet them to help them go somewhere else? And I guess that's probably the best.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I heard it. It's probably like something that pastors have been saying for like 2,000 years. And I don't know.
One thing that I have just for so long been really intentional with is trying to just give value to anybody that I'm present with. And I heard it the other day. I don't even know who said it, but it was someone coaching on like getting up on stage and speaking. And they were like, if you want to be a good speaker, you need to stop thinking about yourself. You need to think about your audience and what you're saying to them. Not about how you look or what you're wearing or anything along those lines. Just think about how you can help the people sitting in the row right in front of you. Yeah. And when you do that, people will appreciate you. People will see you for who you are, the weaknesses and the strengths, and that's a beautiful thing. So I love that yes, we're shining a light on those folks that struggle with ADHD, but I think the same principle applies to everybody. Is to have that heart of just knowing you got weaknesses, and that's okay. That's part of our humanity.
There are things that are hard.
What a concept.
It's called work.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to the light world. It's funny because, and we've all been connected with the StoryBrand world in some way, shape, or another, and this is true really in the marketing world, in which we've also all been connected with. And we talk a lot about it from a sales perspective of the best companies know how to meet their clients where they're at. When we talk about creating messages for people, we meet them where they're at, which is powerful from like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, psychology, survive, thrive thing. Yeah. But it's not often talked about, I think, in the workplaces the way that you're talking about it. And I feel like it's the same kind of idea. It's like, hey, we're just trying to meet our people where they're at. And we've heard this, before too. It's just like the best leaders find the best in their people and coach them through that, and don't try to shame them for what they're not good at. And I do think this is really cool to talk through, because it's heartwarming in a way. This isn't just a message for anyone with ADHD. It's a lot of people are dealing with these wrestles in their own mind of, am I good at this one thing? Should I shine in this? Can I collaborate here? And one of the things, I feel like you've said this a lot, but you keep coming back to like, hey, I believe in you, and I don't really have a question here. I'm just kind of like processing it myself. Like,
Luke, I believe in you.
Yeah, well, thanks, Dad. I appreciate that. But yeah, there's just a level of you as a coach and as a support system, as a consultant. It's sometimes just really great to pay someone to say that. Yeah. But also to pay someone who has the data behind it to back it up. Yeah. And I think that's also what you're alluding to is what I'm hearing, and maybe you could walk through this a little bit more, but you're coming in and looking at data points for them to be able to then clearly align and say, I'm good at this, not so good at this. Maybe we might need to hire someone for this, fire someone over here, stop doing this initiative. And so as you look at data when you come in to a team or a person, what do you find is the most important pieces of data, if that makes sense?
Yeah, for sure. Data is going to be important because people trust data in different ways. But I'm going to break it a little bit differently and see if I understood. Like, this is the way I understand what you're saying. So when I'm talking to people, some of the first things that I look at are how do they process information? What is the blend? There are 4 ways that we that humans like to organize information to store it in our long-term memory. So I figure out what is the way that this person is using information, because I need to make sure that they understand me and I'm not making assumptions about how they're presenting information. And that also tells me what information they're most likely to trust. So we figure that out.
Okay.
And once I have that information, I actually can find a lot of friction in their company. Because, for instance, if Clay passes the information and he's trying to be quick and direct and give you the information, but somebody that is more relational, connected, driven sees it as cold and harsh and distant. Well, he was trying to be kind, but it doesn't land properly. Like, that's a very simple thing.
Yeah.
It's good.
But we find that for them and for others, and then teach them that most of their frustrations are really just friction that they didn't realize it was misinterpreted, especially folks that have ADHD.
Right.
In communication, most people neurotypically assume that it's the other person's fault. With ADHD, we assume it's our fault and we're broken and we carry that burden. They didn't understand me because I don't make sense. I'm dumb. I don't understand them because I'm not smart. Like, that's the way that we're trained to kind of think about it. But then that RSD and that rumination goes into play. So I help them figure out, this is how you process information. These are the tools to make sure that you're understood with other people. We start there. And then the next one is, I've referenced it a couple of times, the tides. We can actually I can have them map out where they're focused, where they're going to be high, where their strengths, where that stuff's going to show up well, typically in a week. It's just like the ocean, it comes and goes.
Yeah.
But with ADHD, it's not as constant. You can find a pattern, but it's more fluctuating.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. So we figure out how we communicate. How do you process information? And then when is your focus available? And then from there, we start looking, okay, well, where's the friction? Where are the issues? Where are the data points? Where are the numbers that we want to pull up? And it's a phrase I used to use a lot. It's making the mundane absurd. We want to find the mundane things and make them absurd. And now there's Unreasonable Hospitality, which Will Goodare does a much better job of explaining that concept and how it all works. But that idea of, like, where do we just find the things where's the friction, take care of that. But then where's the mundane that we can do? And that's that, like, believing in people. Like, everybody has mundane things that they can just make up. So they can blow it out of the park. And somebody will never forget that weird thing that you did. And it's like, why don't you just do that? Like doodling. Why don't you just do this thing? And people are like, I've heard them called micro weirds. Like, what are the weird things that make you, and how do you show up better for people? Well, with ADHD, we tend to be multi-passionate. Like, it's like, I have 13 things that I'm super excited about this month. And next month they might change. But how do we blend those and find the commonalities instead of trying to crush or contain?
Right.
So the communication, then we figure out those tides. And then from there, we look for frictions. And if we go through those three, it's just like, it seems really simple, but identifying them has been hard for so many people. And then once we figure out where the friction points are, then we can engineer the business, the relationships, whatever we need to do. Even if it's like client interactions, like, how do we engineer that differently to work with what we have and not, depend on the weird stuff like, somebody has ADHD and dyslexia, me. Maybe they shouldn't be the one reading contracts or reading a whole bunch of stuff. Can they listen to it on audio? Like, are there ways around this that we can do? And that's, before Loom and all that stuff was a thing, I was sending videos to people because I couldn't type an email and look intelligent. So it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Well, I will record. I would literally, like, get on video calls, or I would record them. I had a YouTube channel that was me, like a hidden YouTube channel that was me with, like, all my little Loom videos. I, like,
Amazing.
probably had 800 at one point, and I'm like,
that's fantastic.
It was stuff like, so this is where we put the files. So when you save it, make sure you name it and load it right here.
That's it.
That's it. That was the video. And there were things that I was like, I can't come up with a way to be understood other than I'm going to record this and send it. So
That's so good.
They were so bad to where it's like, if I didn't have time to, like, screen share and record and stuff like that, I would literally, like, have my phone and record it and talk and point at them, like, so low tech.
That's
But it's just
amazing.
like, I have to get my idea in your brain.
Yeah.
And my ADHD can't go through the processes of getting it there. But I can do this really janky thing and communicate real fast. So a lot of it was just this, like, I solved the problem in the most janky way possible, but we were like,
Problem got solved.
like, it's like, another example, when we lived in France, I did not learn French well. My wife went and studied and like learned French well from people. I learned French in sports locker rooms. So imagine coming to Texas and trying to learn English in a football locker room. It's not clean.
Not the clean language.
You don't call your grandma. I learned French that way. My French was like so broken and everything, but my favorite phrase in French is comme ça. And it means like this. And I would gesture and do everything. And my wife was like people would say like, do you speak French? No. But I communicated. Like I got through everything and I was understood, but it was this most jankety thing. And my wife and I laugh now and it's like, that was my ADHD, just solving every problem we had. Because it was just like, here's the problem. This is where I want to be. Here's a bridge.
This is all the French I need to know.
Yeah. And I love the TV show, All Creatures Great and Small, the James Harriet stuff.
So good. Yeah, so good.
So, I love them. And there's this one part where Tristan, helps save one of a cow. They do the surgery. And he goes, it's the amazing thing about not knowing anything is you don't know what you can't do. And I was just like, that's how I feel so much with ADHD. Like a lot of times we show up and it's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, I didn't read the manual about what we couldn't do, so I just assumed we should do this. And everybody else is like, yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. I love that.
You're not operating within the traditional boundaries. Yeah.
And we see it, like, I see everything from different perspectives because I can't process the information linearly the way most people do. And with ADHD, like, that's the problem is our executive function. We can't process things that linear way like normal. So our brains have actually found ways to like zoom out and like, it's like, I don't know, you take one word and that's like you hit 17 different random things that shouldn't have anything to do with anything. But when you overlay all of those, there's one clear path. And it's like, well, have we tried this? And everybody else is like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. And it's like, says who? And then, it doesn't always work, but it always triggers that thing where people start looking at things with different perspectives. But if somebody tries to tell me, like, you have to do this and this and this and this, and I'm like, on step 3, I stopped paying attention and I was thinking about whether or not, the Pacers are playing tonight. Like, it's like, I don't know what's going on here.
So good. So good. So what I'd love to do, just kind of as we pivot more to practical steps that people can take, because I love this conversation and I feel like we could take it for a long time, but what would you recommend to business owners trying to support team members and just their team in general? Maybe they have ADHD, maybe their team members have ADHD. What would you recommend to them? Just some practical steps to take.
Let's go. 3 things came to mind real fast. One of them, I talked about the tides, which I can get you the worksheet, but the idea is like you really just go hour by hour and you map how focused am I at this time? Can I start a project? Like, can I start and be focused by an hour? And if you map that, you don't have to do it every hour. You just at lunch, you do it. If you map that out and you just get an idea of when people's high tides are and when their low tides are, then you can have realistic expectations of the team members, of yourself. But when you're working with people, just knowing those high and low tides, it's kind of like they may crush it at this time. Or, for instance, putting them into a social engagement. If you know that at this time, like for me, Thursdays are rough.
Yeah. And
putting me in a social engagement where I have to be game on Thursdays, that's asking a lot of me. That will be the one thing I do on Thursday before I take a nap. But knowing that about myself is very important. So knowing that and saying high tides, and there could be 7 high tides in one day. They might be short. There might be a time where it's like, for me, Wednesdays, I burn hard. Like on Wednesdays, I burn so high. I found that on a typical Wednesday, in 5 to 6 hours of work, I can get 20, 30 hours of what I would expect work done if I line it up properly. So it's like knowing that is great. Now, you can't always ideally match that. You're like, well, what happens when a client calls and needs to talk to you? Sorry, I'm on a low tide. You can't, but you can't necessarily do that. But there is a thing where it's like, if it's not an emergency, if you know what's going on with the client, can you call them back in 15 minutes? Like, is there can you allow for that? So that knowing that and setting people up for that is huge. Next one is just expectations. And the way I like to think about it, especially if you're leading a creative team or a production team, is there is a baton that is handed to somebody, then it is theirs to carry until the baton. If those batons are super, super clear, you don't care what they do in between as long as nobody goes to jail,
Yeah.
right? Like as long as that is good, like that's where they get to have autonomy. They get to do it their way. They get to be creative. They get like, they can manage their strengths, avoid weaknesses, like that micromanaging in there, especially with ADHD, because what happens is we see them, oh, they're not on schedule. It's not how I want it to be or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Are we on point? Well, then we start to micromanage. We start to control.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is, especially if they're a creative person or they're making something, like the way I define creativity is like, okay, a lot of businesses say they're creative. And what they do is they celebrate the expected output. But creativity is somebody shoulders the risk to make something that never existed before.
Mm.
So do we want them to show up with something safe that we celebrate, or do we want to celebrate the risk?
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough question, and I think it's both.
Yeah,
it's
a little bit of
kind
both.
a blend.
Yeah, sure.
But if you can let somebody risk while it's theirs to carry and still show up with something, like allow them to take their own risks and get there. And especially with ADHD, if you will let them percolate longer than you're comfortable and then cram down at the end and solve the problem, like it looks like procrastination, it's really percolating, is really how we operate. Like we have to wrap our mind around, our thoughts don't make sense yet. So we have to hold on. But then there's this point where it's like the light switches and now it's like mad dash, got to get it done.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying this always works, but it's more common with ADHD, especially creatives, that they have to percolate. And then when that deadline is looming, like we crush it. Like we show up and crush stuff.
Yeah.
And then knowing that, like, invite people into situations that are bigger than them, like brainstorming sessions, having ideas, bringing them into a last minute all hands on deck situation. Because when the ship is sinking, you want a staff of ADHD. Like we don't fail and we move fast. And we actually don't even think about the ramifications. We just get people, like house is on fire, we get all the people and everything out of the fire. We don't think about what is insurance going to say. Well, like, it's like we can hyper focus and get the thing done.
Yeah.
And that is really cool. And inviting ADHDers into a situation that they can thrive is good. And then I talked about like a brainstorming session. I love brainstorming sessions. I have to be careful not to play the whole brainstorming session and invite others into it and stuff, especially folks with ADHD, because there's two ways that we approach it. We either drive way too hard, way too hot, way too fast, and nobody else gets to play, or we're afraid people will judge our ideas. So we just don't get caught and don't participate. And the thing that I found it's just really fun is I start brainstorming sessions with a dumb idea. I show up with the worst idea and let people piggyback from there. Because if you're the leader and you say, okay, here's the floor, we need better, then what happens is everybody's allowed to share their dumb ideas. They're allowed to chase squirrels and piggyback and build and stuff like that. But if you just start, okay, who has ideas? Well, if somebody with ADHD starts, nobody else plays.
Yeah.
And if other people are starting to have ideas, and the person with ADHD, like if people are diving in and I'm brought into a meeting that's already already running, it's like, I don't know how to catch up. I'm having trouble processing the information. If I say something, it's going to be dumb. They might have already said it. Like I'm actually thinking, how do I play this game? What are the rules to this game? And I'm not participating in the meeting or in the goal.
Wow.
But start in the beginning, no dumb answers. I'm gonna throw this one out there. Like you just throw a turd on the table and let it run.
Oh my gosh.
And it is fun because
nice.
it's like the team will run from that so fast that you'll get like great ideas in half the time before, and letting people piggyback. So that's a good one.
It's brilliant.
And then let's see, there's one more. Another one, a really tactical thing that I love is it's called body doubling. In the ADHD world, it's called parallel play with toddlers, and a lot of people think of it as co-working. For me, if I'm working in a room by myself, I'll probably get my stuff done eventually, ish. But if I'm in a room working with people, like engaged in stuff, I may or may not get my work done.
Yeah.
Because I might just be engaged in that environment, and then I leave and I go, I still got to get my work done. But then if I'm in a room where I can see other people working, like I'm going to crush it. And it's this idea that accountability is really, really hard, because especially as a business leader, like you're trying to hold people accountable, right? But accountability can be crushing with
Yeah.
ADHD, because you get that rumination, you get that, that rejection.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's like, well, there's this expectation. I never live up to the expectation. Like, how do I do this? And it's like, well, now I feel like I have to grind even though I'm in a low tide and I'm not working the way that I'm designed. But the reason I like body doubling or co-working is it's like nudging. And it's this idea that like I'm working on something, and then just as I get distracted, as soon as I start to come out of it, or I'm going to go do something else, if I look up and you're sitting there typing away, like I do this at coffee shops all the time. Like I'm working on something, I'm like, okay, this is getting boring, or I get distracted, or I want to do something else. And I'll look up and I'll stretch, and I'll see like 4 or 5 other people that are working out their headphones, or like they're doing, and I'll stretch, and I'll be like, and I'm back in. And it's this thing where it's just like, it's the bumpers at the bowling alley. Like I bump and I'm back in, and I can keep crushing, I can keep driving. So allowing people to have autonomy to work the way that they work. But at the same time, if you can set up places or spaces that have these co-working things, and most of the creative teams that I work with, we call them deep work, because I used to call them study hall, and that didn't go over well. But it's the idea where everybody's on a Zoom call. Sometimes there's piped in music that they all share. It's kind of like we're working in the same room kind of thing. And even if they work remotely, they'll be on a Zoom call. Everybody's head down, crushing their own thing. You can see other people working. You're not talking. It's just like being at a coffee shop working, where you're working in the background. Hey guys, we're all going to go head down, have some music playing, whatever. And every single team has been like, that's magic.
Yeah.
And the biggest places they're seeing it is, there was this employee that was just causing some friction. He's bouncing around, not hitting his deadlines. They start doing this deep work, and they're like, dude just crushed a month's worth of work in 2 hours.
Wow.
And I'm like, you're welcome.
That's
Here's your
amazing.
bill.
Oh, man, I love it.
So good. So good. Well, Jake, thank you so much.
It's been
I
fun.
mean, I honestly, you've got me wondering, do I have ADHD? Because I mean, I hear a lot of it. But I mean, seriously, this is so good. And I hope that, well, actually, I don't hope. I know that everyone listening in has gotten so much value out of this. And so thank you for carving out the time and being present with us today to share what you've learned, and to share how you support others in becoming the better version of themselves. And so, for everybody that has tuned in, I highly recommend you go connect with Jake on LinkedIn. Is it Jake Brown? What's your handle? Do you know?
It's Air Balloon.
Air Balloon, that's right. Yeah. But go, he and I are connected on LinkedIn, so you'll see us there. But connect with him on LinkedIn, and also check out his website, jakebrown.co. You can see all of the collateral materials that he has available. And then, of course, connect with him if you feel like he might be a good fit for supporting you and your organization. So, Jake, thanks again for being here. Luke, thank you, sir. Any final note before we wrap up? No?
No, I'm good.
All
man.
right. Awesome. This is so good.
If I start talking, we're gonna.
We're going to take an air balloon somewhere. I love it.
I love it. Thanks, Jake.
Well, you guys, I will see y'all next week on Good Business. And if you liked this podcast, please give it a 5-star on Apple Podcasts, or subscribe and like if you're Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else. If you feel like this could be impactful for anyone in your community, in your network, please share this video, this audio recording. Would love to make sure that this is getting spread out to the world, because what Jake just shared, it's world changing for sure. So thanks, y'all. We'll see you guys next time.